Now, the Indian-American community in Houston is particularly ecstatic about the Prime Minister's visit. A large number of Indian Americans have already gathered at the Post Oak Hotel, where the Prime Minister has been staying for the night. Now, President Trump is expected to visit the hotel as well. The duo will then depart together for the NRG Stadium. And let's listen in to some more reactions of the Indian-American diaspora there, who are ecstatic that the Prime Minister will be addressing them later today.
हम जितने भारत से क्लोज हैं उतने पहले कभी नहीं थे, लेकिन मोदी जी आने के बाद 1.0 and 2.0 things have changed. Now it's not only me, the whole world recognizes India, भारत गर्व से हम सुपर पावर हैं और आगे भी बढ़ेंगे.
We are very excited to have Prime Minister Modi and President Trump here. He has been amazing motivational leader, has done a lot of work, and we are very proud of it.
We are all here from various parts of the US to welcome our leader, and he is the messiah of change. That's why we are here.
Definitely a monumental event, historic event, because for the first time, American president will be sharing a dais with a foreign dignitary or foreign head of the country in front of such a large gathering. This is also one of the largest gathering of any politician being addressing a crowd, because generally in US these kind of gatherings are relatively small.
This is the biggest endorsement of India by US administration. President Trump agreeing to come here and be on the same stage with Modi, like I've now coined the phrase that it's a big slap on the face of Imran Khan, the Prime Minister of Pakistan.
Right, so those were some of the reactions that are coming in from many members of the Indian-American community who are absolutely ecstatic that the Indian Prime Minister will be speaking at the NRG Stadium later this evening. About 50,000 people of Indian origin will be present, and also President Trump will be sharing the stage with Prime Minister Modi. And our correspondent, Siddhant Sibil, is of course tracking the developments very, very closely for us. Now, Siddhant, you are, I'm told, joining us from Times Square in New York. Give us a sense of how this important visit by the Indian Prime Minister there is being viewed within the American circles, considering the fact that President Trump will also be sharing the stage with the Indian Prime Minister in Houston today.
Well, Mohammed, it's being seen in a very, very positive light. The fact that a sitting president of the United States is sharing a stage with a foreign leader and addressing the Indian-American diaspora, which population-wise is very less, but is now playing an influential role when it comes to the politics in America, or whether it comes to other sectors, especially the IT sector. And that is why this is a culmination of the India-America ties, celebration of India-America ties, celebration of the role the Indian Americans have played in the American society and how far they have come in the American society. The fact that a visiting Indian Prime Minister is being welcomed with the largest gathering America has seen to welcome a democratically elected foreign leader, along with the President of the United States joining him on the stage, is a tribute to the entire the diaspora, the entire Indian Americans here in the United States. But of course, the Indian Prime Minister is also sending a strong message, a message that India is their home. They are free to go there and of course consider India as a destination for investment, and that is what message the Indian Prime Minister gave to the top energy CEOs who he met, and of course we saw the announcement as well coming after that. So clearly his first engagement with the energy CEOs and of course in the energy capital of United States, Houston, is a message which everyone from New Delhi to New York will be clearly and closely observing.
Absolutely indeed. And one of the other issues, Siddhant, that everyone is looking very closely is at the trade ties between India and the United States. Over the last few months, we've seen President Trump stating that he's not very happy with some of the tariff arrangements between India and the United States. Is there any announcement that is expected on the trade front between the two nations?
Well, of course, we have to wait and look forward, because the Indian Prime Minister and the President of the United States will be meeting in a sense twice. First, of course, at the Houston event, which will take place later in the day, but also in the big bilateral which will take place on Tuesday here in New York. And we do expect something to happen, because the last time they met, when they met on the sidelines of the G7 summit in France, in which both sides said that talks should happen. And before that, in the Osaka summit, on the sidelines of the Osaka summit, Japan, the G20 summit in Japan, both sides announced officially that talks will take place, but the talks never happened because of the scheduling issue. And now the hopes are that the bureaucrats from both the sides will work together, so that at a higher level a positive decision can be made. But India is already telling the Americans, the American authorities, the American president, that we are trying to import from you something that the Americans want, the American president under Donald Trump wants. And that is why the deal announced today, the MOU announced today, is an important part of the larger thing which is happening between India and America, especially on trade issues. And hopefully it will be resolved very soon, given the positive vibes from both sides. There is consensus that India and America, there might be hiccups, but largely it's a strategic relationship which helps both of them.
Absolutely indeed, Siddhant. And also considering the fact, this White House in its announcement, while stating that President Trump will be sharing this stage with Prime Minister Modi, said that this was being done as a special gesture to underscore the bond between the two nations. But looking at it from the perspective of real politics, the fact of the matter is the Indian-American community is pretty strong. It's 4.4 million strong. It's almost about 1.3% of the American electorate. So how much of this also plays into the fact that there is a presidential election next year and President Trump would like to get the Indian-American community behind him?
Well, the fact that the American president is taking part is just not any coincidence. There is two important things, the outcomes which the American president can look forward. One, of course, is the closeness in the relationship between New Delhi and Washington. Despite the hiccups which we talked about, the trade hiccups, the relationship is largely in positive trajectory. Second, of course, is the diaspora angle to it. The Indian-American play an important and influential role. They are considered a vote bank, to use the terminology from the Indian politics. And the fact that he is addressing the Indian diaspora along with the Indian Prime Minister is a message that his party is clearly more close to that section of the American society. So clearly he is able to send two strong messages, one domestically and one internationally. And that, of course, every leader tries to do. And we know that the fact that the Indian Prime Minister is also reaching out to the diaspora shows that he believes that the diaspora can play an important role in the national development of India.
Absolutely indeed. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Siddhant Sibil, for joining us from Times Square in New York. We'll of course come back to you as the story develops in